Hi, gang. Welcome to Behind the Rhinestones. I am your host, Dinah Dare, and here I talk to performers in burlesque and cabaret and get a little bit of a peek of what life is like behind all those shiny rhinestones. If you are enjoying the content I've brought to you so far and are keen to see what comes next, please do like and subscribe as I have so much more on its way. Today I am speaking to probably one of the biggest producers in the UK. She has produced some fantastic shows as well as some fun competitions. So please welcome to the show, Tawny Kay. Hi, Tawny. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hello, thank you for having me.
No, it's
I'm
fine.
looking
Um,
forward to it.
I feel like we're both hiding from the sunshine. It was like we were just
A-
chatting about.
Absolutely. I'm not a fan. I like to see it through a window. I don't like to be out in it.
You're like it's over there. That's nice.
Yeah, I like to see it and I like to see green stuff, but again, just on the other side of a window and then I'm happy. So not too much heat.
Yeah, up and down. I suppose it's been quite good from what I've seen on socials. You are sort of right in the depths of planning the Highway to Hull weekend hour, so you've got loads going on anyway.
Yes, it's yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot. I I knew it would be, but the time seems to catch up quicker than you've got things done. Even with the best laid plans, it's all, yeah, very sort of not chaotic, but it's coming into everything's coming into place, but there's just so many moving parts and trying to make sure everything matches up, trying to make sure we've thought of as many considerations as we can. It's exhausting, but we're excited. We're really, really fucking excited. I'm really happy to kind of start celebrating what we've got in the UK and having that same kind of respect and reverence that they do, particularly in America, and Canada and places like that, where the legends are treated with respect and they know the history and they know what it means if a legend comes to town. So yeah, I'm happy to be doing something similar for people from the UK. It'll probably take a couple of years to build up to exactly where we want it. But I think one of the things that I've noticed is it's that kind of, I don't know, sort of lack of education, lack of knowledge around the burlesque history and its roots, why we've got such a kind of shaky um, industry in the
Mm.
UK, because people don't know who these people are, and they if they don't know, they don't care. So yeah, I'm happy that hopefully we're going to start that happening and start having that same respect in the UK. Because yeah, going to BHOF was completely life changing, and seeing actually seeing it in real time, the respect and just you would see a legend walking around the pool and you would give them a clap and be cheering, and you know you was encouraged to just tip your legends as they walk through the lobby, and making sure that BHOF and making sure that our legends are taken care of in later life. And it's just like we don't have it, we don't have anything like that. um and we also wanted to be able to give back. So again, I was really lucky to go to BHOF last year when a lot of people from the UK
Yep.
actually got in, and to be sat in the crowd listening to people saying, "Holy fuck, is this how the British do it?" And I'm like, "Yes, yes, it is. We're actually really good. We just can't fucking afford to get to Vegas." Um, so again, one of the things that we're wanting to do, assuming we have any profits, is to give a percentage directly to BHOF and then a percentage for sort of a kind of a scholarship fund for UK performers to, at the very least, be able to apply for BHOF.
Yep.
Because even that's not always financially accessible. I imagine for a lot of us. So yeah, I was like, right, okay, we need to
Need
do
to
this
do it.
stuff. We need to do this. So we'd already sort of, God, I'm on a waffle now. You've got me on my special interest subject. Um,
This is perfect. I'm like, go for I don't need to even ask you anything. You're just giving me it all. It's great.
so yeah, so Highway Tool had started like 3 years ago,
Hmm.
um, completely by accident. I was already bringing over Knox Falls and Foxy Lexi Brown to Doncaster. And I got a message from Joy Ryder saying, um, we're going to be in Europe for a family thing, and we'd love to do a European gig. And we were told to reach out to you, which was just the best feeling to know that people are like, okay, I trust this person.
Yeah.
I trust them with my art. I trust that I'm going to get paid on time. I trust that I'm going to be looked after. So that really meant a lot. But I also knew that there was absolutely no way I could make it happen in Doncaster. Um, it's really fucking hard in Doncaster as it is for lots
Yeah.
of reasons. Um, but I just thought this is just too good an opportunity. How can you not have Joy Rider and Cosmic Skater? When they're saying we've heard your great, how can you not do this?
Yeah.
So I reached out to Roxy. We'd worked together in 2017, and um, we'd travelled up to Glasgow a few years ago to do a gig. So we've like worked together a little bit, and we're friends anyway. So I reached out and I was like, do you think you could get a venue? This is a really good opportunity, and I feel like we'd really work well together. Um, yeah, and it was just so successful and so joyous
Hmm.
and so well organized because Roxy loves a fucking spreadsheet that I was just like, this has to happen again. And I think we just literally looked at each other and went, so next year?
Yeah.
Um, and and that was that. So it went from um 2 workshops and a show on the Saturday to a show on the Saturday and 6 workshops, I think it was, to all of a sudden it's this 3 day sort of thing that's just grown and progressed naturally. So I'm really, yeah, I was shitting myself because the budget is I'm like that. I hope my house is sold before in case.
Yeah.
Um so yeah, but we are excited. We're just doing that thing that I think every producer is doing at the minute where you're just your arsehole's puckering and you're sort of holding out hope that there's going to be
Yep.
this influx of tickets. And so, yeah, I think having, you know, having to really stick in there and hope for the best and have contingency plans and be putting your own money away into savings just in case is,
Yep.
I think that's just the norm at the minute, isn't it?
It really does seem to be. You've said so much there that I'm like, I want to ask more about this and this and this. I'm like, my brain's going, whoa.
Sorry.
No, it's great. I think I love how Highway to Hull started. I've been to one of your Doncaster shows many. It was when you had Lulu the Duchess. Um,
Right. So it was Lulu that told Joy Rider to get in touch. So, yeah.
um, she was amazing. I really wanted to see her, so we went down. Me and a friend went down. But it must feel so good to have that reputation as a producer now. Like you kind of touched on it that yeah, your name is out there on a wider scale that people actively want to work with you, and I imagine that that makes, the Highway to Hull weekender as well an aspect easier because if you're reaching out to like performers in America, you can say, well, I've worked with these performers before, so you can almost like check credentials and things like that. Like that must make life a bit easier.
A lot easier. I mean, I would say I was really, really lucky because Lulu the Duchess Derriere was the first international person that I brought over.
Okay.
She just made it easy. I mean, I absolutely fucked up. Because I didn't take into account that, yes, she would be leaving Canada on the Tuesday, but she wouldn't actually get into the UK till the Wednesday. So I'd arranged a workshop for while she was in the air. Um, and she just took it really well. So easy to work with. The boiler had broken down the week before she came, and they came to change the boiler while she was here. And I was just like, oh my God, what are people going to say? But I think that kind of normalcy and being in that home environment and just seeing that everyday life, and I don't know if maybe that helped.
Yeah.
Um, and just seeing me in my natural environment where everything's a bit like fuck, and then I pull it out my arse anyway. So yeah, and thank you for coming down. It was very much a blur. I don't remember a great deal. It was
It
quite,
was a great show. It's a great show. That's what I
thank you.
remember. It sticks in my brain as being a really good show. And Highway to Hull Weekender looks amazing. Like you've got the troops, you've
Yeah,
obviously got some performers from across the globe coming in as well. Like your one of your headliners is it Queen Kwan? Is that
yeah.
yes?
And Judith Stein, the Canadian
Judith.
legend.
I knew
Uh,
Judith was there as well. I was like, I'm sure it's Queen Kwan and Judith are the two names that were in my head.
yeah.
Um, yeah,
So
like
really
it's going to
excited.
be it's so much. It's such a big thing. And as you said, were you heavily inspired by you were obviously heavily inspired by your experience at BHOF.
Yeah,
Um, but I've seen a lot of people talking today, funnily enough, in the United Burlesque Kingdom chat about the history of burlesque and how that's so important. So it's almost showing that that is needed when we are actively talking about in the community how that doesn't seem to have the same reverence here as it does, particularly in the States.
no, absolutely not. And I mean, I will say, when I've spoken to people from Canada and America and other places, and I talk about how a lot of our I'm trying to think of a really nice way to put this, how a lot of our teachers, newer performers come from these kind of franchises, and they're just, the idea is completely wild to them.
Mm-hmm.
They don't they don't know how this is a thing. How can you franchise burlesque? And I had a really candid chat with somebody that franchises burlesque, and they said to me, you're kicking off about franchising. It's no different to McDonald's. And what I really wanted to say is, you're correct. It's not. You're correct. It is exactly like McDonald's. There's no heart. There's no soul. It's fast. It's cheap, and it leaves you feeling like shit. So you're right. The franchises are like McDonald's, and that's not a good thing. That's not a good thing when your independent sandwich shops and cafes are shutting down. That's not a good thing that somebody is sat right at the top making a fuck ton of money. So I am glad that they use McDonald's as a reference, because they're completely right.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's what they meant by it. Um, so yeah, it's really difficult. I had another really candid chat with somebody that had reached out to me to say, I think there's a bit of bad blood here. And they'd said, I didn't understand that all this stuff was important. And I'm learning now while I'm, sort of learning on the job. And I said, but the thing is, like you've just said, you weren't taught properly. And then you've taught people. How much money did you spend to be taught incorrectly? How much money have people spent to be taught incorrectly by you? And all the while, there's these professionals who this is their livelihood. This is what they
Yeah.
do professionally. And there's no work for them. And some of the reason is people will go to burlesque shows that are incorrectly advertised, and they'll be like, well, if that's the best of the best, I'm literally not going to bother.
Yeah.
A lot of people only have a certain amount of money to spend, so they're going to spend it on their shows within their franchise. They're going to want to support their friends. All that starts to have a knock-on effect. If you've only got a certain amount of money to spend and you're going to support your friends, which is a gorgeous thing to do, that's less money for the professionals. And I think it was Ginger
Yes.
Surmise, I'm never sure how it's pronounced, who was talking about the people in the middle. And it's so sad because that is where the actual magic happens.
Mm.
So sort of the community groups, the franchisers, a lot of that is about, you know, having fun, being with friends, maybe as a fitness thing. And that's lovely and it's got its place and it's great. And then you've got the people at the corporate who've got ridiculous amounts of money to spend on thin, white, young girls for men in suits to gawk at. And then you've got the kind of change makers in the middle who are saying, okay, we need to have acts that send a message.
Yep.
We need to have bodies on stage that haven't been visible. We need to make sure that these people are lifted up. And I think the other thing that I'm sort of really having a problem with is the safety aspects. I don't feel like a lot of the burlesque spaces that I go in are, I don't feel that they're unsafe, but I don't feel comfortable. And I think as we're expanding our marketing, because we've got to get more people in, it means that we're opening the doors up to people that don't understand.
Yep.
And it's this double-edged sword of keeping these protected spaces and selling tickets to stay afloat. And it's really fucking hard. And then, yeah, you see statuses talking about how they've sold out a show that's a charity student showcase, and you're just like, great. Could you have spent that money on the middle ground? Could you have
Yep.
done that? Could you have shared their show? Could you have encouraged your students to go to that show? And if you're teaching the history of burlesque, then you should be encouraging your students to go to particular shows,
Yep.
whether you like those producers or not. There's some shows that are too important for people to not be going to.
Yeah.
So yeah, there we go. That's me banging on my soapbox.
No, I love it. I think it's I wrote it in that various threads. I say to other people in the cabaret industry in general, like, if we can't support each other, how do we expect the audience to support us? And I
Mhm.
try and go to all my local shows. It's not possible. I have a day job. I have I have other things to do, but I try. I try and
Mhm.
support. Very rarely do I see loads of other performers there. And I wish that wasn't. It depends what the show is, and it depends who's running the show. If the person that's running the show is associated with a school, then you're going to get loads of the school. Um, if it's just a show and there's maybe not someone that's loads of people are friends with that's performing, then there's not that many people there. Well, I'll just kind of toddle up to be like, what's going on? Um, and I think that's something that we're not great at. And as you said, it's about, and people have talked about it in those comments as well on that page saying, everyone's got money and time, and that's totally fair. But again, if you want to see a change happen in our community, you need to be willing to put the money as well, and you need to be able to, you need to be willing to support it, even if it's just sharing the shit out of it online or sharing it at work. Like during Fringe Month, I think my work hates me out of a Slack, and I'm just like, go see this show, and because it's Edinburgh, I'm like, and this, and go see this, and this,
Mhm.
um, because I can't afford to go to all of them, but I can maybe like encourage someone that I work with to go to one of them. And I think we
Absolutely.
forget that we have that power to tap into potentially an untapped market. Because I've had people go to shows off the back of my recommendations at my job that wouldn't have went before.
Yeah. I know Lindsay's been doing a lot of the same thing, talking in the business space about, burlesque and cabaret is brilliant. You should go. And I know some people that had gone to a strategy, there are words, strategy day then went on to Hebden Bridge that weekend. They were like, actually, I'm gonna go and check out Hebden Bridge. And
Mm.
it's like just one. If you can get one person interested and they get another one person interested, you're halfway there. But I also think that because people are kind of fighting for the audiences, they've forgot to support each other.
Yep.
And I will say, in the defense of a lot of these community um, shows, franchises, they do collaborate and they do support each other, and they are right. You do need that. And I think something happened in COVID that after COVID we stopped doing that. I mean, I remember before Facebook was such a big thing that you would message people and be like, "Am I okay to bring some flyers for my show to your show?" And you would swap flyers at people's shows. Um, we don't ask to do that anymore. And we used to have meetups where you could just go and talk a load of shit and swap some of your stuff. And there's none of that. And I don't know if it's because everybody's just working so hard to fucking survive. But I'm
Mm.
like, we won't survive on our own. We
Yeah.
will not survive on our own. And I had a year of not going to many shows because I was just like, I can't face it. Um, and I've had to really force myself and go, right, you're going to go to one show a month, minimum. You can afford £20, £25 for a show. And if you can get somebody else to go with you and split the petrol costs or whatever, you can afford that, Tawny. And that's kind of what I've been trying to do. And it has been nice. There has been shows where I've started to see a few more producers. And I'm like, this is wonderful. This is really
Yep.
good. Um, but I must say, you know, um, Mama Joe came to York to do a gig. And there was a couple of producers in the room, but I was so disappointed. And I think again that really drove home the need for Highway to Hull because I just
Yep.
thought your legend has come from London on a train or whatever. They've come up here to share their art with you, their knowledge with you, their time with you, and you can't even be asked to show up. And I know there's a million reasons. I know it's not just as simple as you can't be asked, but yeah, it,
Yeah.
it upset me when I thought, so we were in Vegas and this entire room filled with probably thousands of peoples were going wild, and then we've not supported her in our own country. And yeah, I find that a really bitter pill to swallow. So
I think the same happened here. She came up to the Glasgow festival, and unfortunately, I was in the Alps festival at the same weekend, um, because timing. But I know she did a workshop or she did a talk about her kind of experiences, and she did a show, and I'm not entirely sure how well it sold. I know that we were kind of pushing it, and I know Roxy Stardust has been posting about potentially having another legend later on in the year and kind of saying, look, could I charge this price? Would people come? Again, I don't know if they will or not. People say yes, but I don't.
they always say yeah until
They always say yes,
got
but
to
I
pay
don't
the
know if
money.
people will actually pay the money. And I'm going to be off for the first time this year, and I'm very excited. Um, I am terrified because it's America, but also very excited. Um, and I can't wait to kind of experience all that. And I'm looking forward to the Legends Night as well. And then obviously, like, I'm just looking forward to it all. I know it's overwhelming. I know my brain's going to fall out my head, but it's fine. Um, it's fine. The
Yeah,
glitter crash will be unreal. It's fine.
well,
But I do, yeah, and I've done a few festivals over there, and I do feel like there is a different level of respect to some extent. And I do feel like there's people in the industry here trying to fight for that.
mhm.
Um, but it feels like an uphill battle sometimes.
It is, but I keep manifesting that 2025 year is the year of clearing the board. If you look at already what's happened this year in the burlesque industry and the
Mhm.
people they're not getting away with their shit anymore. And more people are coming forward and saying, just a minute, this isn't okay. And has
Yep.
this happened to anybody else? So although it feels like this uphill battle at the minute. I'm also like, I am starting to notice other people going, just a minute, wait a minute. And like seeing some of the newer performers do some of the amazing shit they're doing. So like when they're applying for jobs saying, we're not going to work on all white lineups, use our money to pay somebody else. Here's a list of collectives. I'm like, we are moving in the right direction. It's going to be hard. There's going to be pushback, but we're getting there. We're getting there.
Yeah.
Um,
Speaking of new performers, you produce Star Search, which was very recently, and one of our lovely Glasgow people, Baby Heart, who I love her so much. I know she placed.
honestly, I wanted to message you actually and say, is she one of your babies? Because even the lead up, she was sharing everything, commenting on everybody's posts, being so lovely. And I was like, this is exactly how it should be. This
She's
is
not one
exactly
of my babies. I've just kind of
not.
adopted her.
Uh,
She learns from Tootsie Annie. She goes to Tootsie Annie's courses, but I've just kind of adopted her a little bit. I'm kind of anything I see that I think she'd be good at, I'm just kind of pushing her at.
yeah, nice.
But
Oh, I'm
she's
so
she's
really, really pleased. Yeah, absolutely. Just great performer, lovely person. I felt genuinely blessed to have met her, to be honest. So
so lovely.
thank you for sending her this way.
No, no, of course. I have seen Star Search just online enough to know that it was a high quality show and a high quality competition, and I was just like, when you go. But how did what made you want to start Star Search, I suppose? Was it about giving that platform for newer performers or
Yeah, so I don't think there was, and don't get me wrong, when I very first started Star Search, you didn't get a lot. I think it was cash when I first started, like 50 quid to the winner and 20 quid to second place or something daft like that. But obviously I'd kind of had this platform at Legend in the Making. And I'd actually got through 2 years on the trot, which was like, look at me, got through twice, didn't we need the time? But
still got through? Still got through.
still got through. Exactly. And that feeling of I got through and I've been seen by people and I've got professional photos because I don't think we got videos back then. This was like 2014 and 15. And I just thought there isn't a lot up north. I know that there was a lot of sort of competitions in London, but it's like there doesn't seem to be a lot up north. I think Raven Noir was doing, was it called Rising Star for Burlesque Noir?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I feel like I want to do something like this. I feel like I want to have people platformed and give them somewhere where it's a nice environment. I mean, I say a nice environment, it was a proper sawdust floor pub. Um, yeah, getting changed in the industrial kitchen, no heaters. So it was like, it's either red hot or freezing cold. There was no in between. That weird smell that you have in them pubs. But
Yep.
it was a really lovely pub and it was just really nice. And I think the first year was won by Bonnie Knockers.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think the second year was Aurora Nova. And then it just sort of again started to build from there naturally. Um, and then to be able to move it into a theatre where it's just so nice to hear people go, oh my God, I've got a proper dressing room, I've got a mirror, and I've got plugs and a chair. And it's like, even that is such a nice thing to be able to give to somebody. Um, and I think it starts to make you feel like a professional.
Mm.
Um,
Yep.
again, I think that was one of the really nice things. I did was it called a Cutch Festival or something, Welsh Festival, and that was in a theatre, and I was like, oh my God, I've got a mirror real light. Um, no toilet though. 5 showers, but no toilet. So I had to piss in a shower, obviously. So
Obviously.
keeping it classy, obviously. But yeah, it's been really nice. And I do feel like um, Star Search is starting to get a really nice reputation, not only as being somewhere that's not particularly competitive, but okay, you actually get something out of this competition. It's not just a way to sell tickets. off the back of not paying performers. So, which is what I didn't want it to be.
Yeah.
Um, I wanted to make sure you got something out of it. You know, really good photos, really good high quality video. Um, so yeah, I'm hoping it's gonna continue to grow. Um, it will probably have moved by next year because I am not getting on with the theatre and we're involved in a legal battle, so that's fun.
Oh, okay. Oh, I
Yeah,
feel like
so
I
that's
can't ask you about that because it's a legal battle, but like,
well,
eh.
I'm hoping, I did just go in and say, what do you want? Like, what do you want the resolution to be? I said, because I'm now at the point where my only option is to go to court. Um, but again, it's that stigma of not wanting burlesque in there, despite the fact I'm their associate artist. Or only wanting corporate burlesque in there, um, touring burlesque companies. So yeah, but I'm hoping that where we're moving, I'm like, send me the contract, let me sign right now.
Yeah.
Um, I'm hoping that it's going to be a really special venue and they're still gonna have that special feel. So that's what I'm hoping. Although my daughter did suggest that I make Star Search part of Highway to Hull. So
Oh, maybe a future thing. But
a future,
at the moment, does the winner get to perform at Highway to Hull, or have I misremembered that?
they still get to perform at Highway to Hull.
Yeah.
But my daughter thinks that it should be on one of the nights
Hmm.
of the weekender. I'm like, we'll see.
A bit like Legend in the Making, you
A
win
bit
one
like
night.
Legend, where you're
Yeah.
already there, and so yeah. So I mean, I've not discussed it with my co-producer, so
If they're watching this, hi.
yeah. Sorry, Roxy. But yeah, I have got much better actually at checking in because I would say the first time we produced in 2017, I didn't work well with others. I was just like, I see this amazing performer. So even though it's 2 nights before our show, I'm actually going to book them. And I did. And Roxy was like, cool. She's like, great performer, but Tawny, we need to have these chats. So that's been really nice as well because I don't understand budget. And I teach people, if you're budgeting for a show, do it at 50% capacity, blah, 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 blah. And then I
Yep.
do not take that advice. But I want this performer and I want this performer. And it's really important that these performers are shown. So I can justify going over budget because it's important. And Roxy's kind of like, yes, it is important. And we can spend that budget, but where else are we going to claw this budget back, Tony? And I'm like, right, okay, yes, I will.
Sounds like you're a good duo, though.
It works really well. They are so organized. They get like this really rambly voice message, and then it comes back on a spreadsheet. And I'm like, this is beautiful. How did you understand what all of those words meant? So yeah, we have like a running joke that I will ask a question and she'll send me it back with a finger pointing to where she's already sent me said information 4 or 5 times. So yeah, but it works because I'm like, thank you. I found it now. Thank you.
It's fine as long as it's fine. That happens. That totally
Yeah,
happens.
it works
Um,
really well. It works
okay.
really well.
So
Um,
obviously you've kind of chatted a little bit there in Star Search about like your own beginnings. Like how did you get into the world of burlesque and what has your journey been?
um, so I was sort of really interested in vintagey stuff, pin-up stuff. Um, so you kind of end up down that wormhole
Yep.
and then you somehow end up into pin-up and burlesque.
Yeah.
And I was just completely fascinated. Didn't know much about the history, obviously. Didn't think it was the film Burlesque, but I didn't know much about the history. Um,
That film
and
haunts us as an industry, I swear to God.
done it, done it. I mean, and it's such a shame because there's such great songs to actually move to, but just we just can't use them. They've ruined the songs. So I think it was my 30th birthday, many years ago. And I was like, I want a birthday party. I've not had a birthday party since I was 6. For me. And I was like, I really want this party. I really did not want to turn 30. 30 was not the one. Somehow coming out of 20s into 30s, it's like, shit, I've got to grow up. And I'm not ready to do that. So I
Mhm.
had a birthday party and I was like, I really want a burlesque performer. So I had a little look online, found anaphylaxis, um, hired her for my event, and then obviously started trying to follow her a bit on Facebook and, kind of seeing all this stuff happening. And then I think I'd been to a burlesque show. I don't know how or why. Um, and Heidi Bang Tidy, it's got to have been a show that Heidi was either in or performing at. And again, I'd followed her on Facebook. And she'd put a thing out saying, we're looking for people front of house, backstage. And my marriage was not great. I was I was at university, doing a degree. I had 2 young children and a baby. And I would be like at university, for example, and people would say, "Oh, so what do you like to do? Like, tell me about yourself." And I was just like, I don't know what to tell you. I'm somebody's mum. I'm somebody's wife. I
Mhm.
don't, but I actually don't know who I am. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to volunteer because I can't take the husband and I can't take the kids. So I have to go on my own. This has to be just for me.
Yep.
And so yeah, I was front of house for a few events, met people, you start finding out a bit more. And then I was backstage probably for about a year, at Heidi Bang Tidy's and Lady Wildflower shows. So I got to see the inner workings. I didn't kind of start with this, I want to be a star. I want to tread the boards and be a star, darling. I was like, this is fucking fascinating. I love this backstage stuff. I love listening to people talk. I like hearing about how the industry works. And at the same time, while I'm finding all this amazing stuff, my marriage is kind of like shit. Um, and my husband at the time, trying to be supportive, was like, I don't know what to buy you for Christmas. I'm going to buy you burlesque lessons, which was literally the worst thing he could have ever done. Um, I say to people, like, I hope your marriage is in a good place when you start burlesque because you're going to discover so many things about yourself, things that you didn't know. You're gonna learn all of this stuff that you didn't know mattered to you, and you're gonna realize
Yeah.
it does matter to you. And you're gonna try and tell your partner that this stuff matters and why it matters, and it's gonna fall on deaf ears.
There's also, I know so many people that when they get into burlesque, they get into burlesque, like it's all consuming. I know that that was definitely me. And
Yes,
then I'm still with the person from when I started, but I know that they kind of got a bit neglected because it just became all consuming for such a while, to be
yeah.
honest. So yeah, I totally get what you mean.
It can really take over everything, and in some ways that's good, and in some ways
Mhm.
it's like, okay, just a minute, I need to take a step back because I have still got children and I have still, but anyway. Um, Started performing. He was fine about performing, no problem. But well, no, I started lessons with Lady Wildflower. Let's skip back. Started lessons with Lady Wildflower. Um, did the beginners course, and I was like, I really, really enjoyed this. I'm going to sign up for intermediate. Sign up for intermediate, and I still did not want to perform. I was like, I am not interested in performing. This has been great fun. I'd like to find another class so that I can keep doing this, but a good reputable class because I don't tell a lot of people this publicly, but I did about 8 weeks in about 2012 with burlesque chair dance, and I was just like, this is not the one. This
Yeah.
is not it. Nobody spoke to me. Nobody acknowledged my existence. I felt like I did not fit in. And after repeating a routine round of chair a couple of times. I was like, I don't know much, but I know this isn't the bits that I do know, and
Yep.
I know that I don't feel comfortable. So I wasn't bothered about performing, but I still wanted to go to stuff. And
Thanks.
then
Yeah.
Lady Wildflower said, "Would you like to be the new performer in my show?" I was like, "Well, fuck it, yeah, let's just say we've done it once. I can just say been on
Yeah.
stage once, and I've done this once, and it's not enough. It's literally not enough.
No.
Um, you cannot describe that feeling of holy fuck. I've just owned me. I have just been completely in control of my body, in control of my mind, in
Mm-hmm.
control of my emotions, and I've shared it, and people have loved what I've just shared.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think there's anything that competes with that. Well, there is now because my body's knackered, and I don't dance as much. So lots of things now compete with that feeling. But at the time, you're like, this is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And again, you didn't apply for a lot back then. Somebody else messaged me and was like, would love you to perform at my show. And that was kind of my first 4 or 5 shows. And then it was like, okay, I'm going to start applying. And yeah, it just kind of snowballed.
Amazing.
And then, yeah, and then I wanted to produce because, again, and I'll say great that Doncaster people have such sort of um, ways of thinking that they're going to let their business minds do all these stuff. But Doncaster is kind of where the first franchise was born. Um, the owner of the whole thing is from Doncaster.
Okay.
So I was on this back foot of, okay, I want people in Doncaster to know what burlesque is because I'm seeing
Mm.
these classes and shows, and I'm seeing nobody's individuality being encouraged. I'm seeing no thought for the history. I'm seeing cosplaying queerness
Mm.
for the entertainment of men. Um, which sits really badly with me anyway, but you know, and I just thought I need people to see that this is not what burlesque is. And maybe if people see that it's not what burlesque is, they'll start looking outside of Doncaster and go to lessons like I did. And so that was how it started. And then yeah, I was like, okay, so while I'm educating them about what burlesque can be, I'm gonna start pushing some of the more political things. I've
Mm-hmm.
had a nice, gentle show, and now we're gonna start putting some other stuff in, and to have such as Ruby Jones on my stage, and Gypsy Charms on my stage, which was just the most epic fucking thing. And Snooky Mono and all these people that were like, this is not what you thought burlesque is,
Yep.
but it is. And they've been here for years and years and years doing the work and working in strip clubs and doing the work with the illicit thrill. And I'm just like, this is what you need to know, which then pushes you to find more of the history. And
Yep.
again, the whole thing, what started as a just want to show you what burlesque is, has become this whole sort of political movement of no, you're going to see what burlesque is,
Mm-hmm.
is. And all these stuff that you did not expect to see, you're gonna see that shit.
Yep.
Um, you're gonna see acts that we cannot even take photos of because people don't want that act shared publicly with people that don't understand it.
Yep.
Um, and some of the art that people have trusted me with that I know that they don't perform in places that they don't feel are particularly safe. That means so fucking much that people know they're going to be taken care of, know they're going to be respected, and trust me, that means so much more than money in a bank even, like, I know you trust me. That means a lot.
Yeah.
That that means the fucking world. So
I think
so
it's so important. Like even going back to we're talking about Baby Heart and Star Search, like she was so surprised that her particular act got in because she's like, it's not your standard burlesque, but that's the point, as you're just saying, like you want to
abs-
show that burlesque is varied. It can be anything, really.
absolutely,
And that's what's interesting about it. And I think in the desire to make us sellable, because at the end of the day we have to sell tickets.
absolutely.
I
We gotta
think
eat.
yeah, I think sometimes we tend to lose track of the fact that sometimes burlesque can make you uncomfortable as well.
And I think each show should make at least one person in your audience uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I think without that uncomfortableness, there's no lessons learned.
Hmm.
And this particular act that I'm talking about, the entire theatre was silent. Nobody was sure how to respond. Nobody was sure, is this okay? Are we okay with this? Are we being called out as white people? Yes, yes, you are. That's exactly what's happening here.
Hmm.
Um, and how do we feel about that? But all of the comments that I got was so positive of fuck me, I didn't know how to feel. And that made me feel something and it made me question a lot of my own thought processes. And I'm like, yes, that's exactly what it's supposed to do. Yes, it can be pretty. Yes, it can be rhinestones and feathers. And you can just walk up and down a stage. There's a lot of power in that. And being able to do that and make it look good is again something else. But it can be in your face, it can be funny, it can be political, it can be absolute filth. But all of these things that you're doing should also be done with respect. And again, I think it's really really important to remember the roots and the history and the stigma. And yes, burlesque isn't sex work in the same way as sex work is sex work. You're not stigmatized in the same way. But these people were the people that were doing this stuff when it wasn't okay to
Yep.
be burlesque. Um, and yeah, I think it's really important to remember, like when I read things that say, just because we take our clothes off, we're not strippers. If you are stripping clothes off, you are stripping. That's don't put people down. Don't wear their pleasers and clack your heels and then put them down. Don't put tassels on and twirl them and then put professional burlesque performers down. Don't do that fucking shit. It's
Hmm.
you're going to do something, do it with respect. If you're going to say you're part of a community, give back to that community. What are you giving? Um,
Which
and
is a
yeah,
massive topic right now with the BHOF Museum closing.
oh, I am so happy that I got to see it last year. And obviously you're going this year, so you'll get to go. Because it's just I walked in and just burst into tears. I mean, I did cry for an entire week in Vegas, but there was something about walking in there and like being able to touch and smell and you can't describe that, and to think that we're gonna lose its physical location is
Yeah.
it's wild to me. It's wild to me that we've got all these people that apparently do burlesque and then the donations are sat at literally nothing. And I can't understand. Don't say you're part of this community if you're not putting into this community. It's yeah, I'm not a fan, which is
No.
why I'm blocked from lots of people's Facebooks.
Oh well. Oh
I'm so
no.
love today's drama, but yeah, I know enough.
If you were everyone's cup of tea, you wouldn't make a change. And it sounds like almost from the start, you have been a driver of change or a desire for change, which I think is amazing because it's a hard thing to do for fear of backlash, particularly in this day and age on the internet, let's be fair.
Mhm.
But it sounds like you've always been a driver of change through like your shows and your work, and I think that's fantastic. And I think we have to continue to do that. I mean, what's happening with BHOF, we have to find a way to preserve what we're doing. And we have to find a way to continue to share the importance of where we come from. Um, it's one of the reasons I'm going to BHOF this year because I am genuinely scared that the Weekender is not going to exist in a few years in its current
I don't
form.
even want to think about that.
Because I've seen Cleveland Burlesque have lost their funding.
Yeah.
They lost their arts funding. Obviously, BHOF's lost its arts funding. It's happening across the place. It scares me what's happening. And
Mhm.
I was like, I'm going to take the opportunity to go now, just in case. Um, Even though we're saving up to buy a house next year. And I was like, it's fine, go to Vegas.
Emergency credit card it.
Yeah, this will be fine. Cool. Um, it does worry me. And then when we're talking about in our own scene in the UK, we're having to battle against people who don't understand the importance of the history as well. Like it's a bit scary, isn't it?
It's scary and it's really sad. Like you've just said, you're terrified it's not going to be here in a couple of years. If you're in the burlesque scene and you're not worried about this, you're not really in the burlesque scene.
Hmm.
Like if this stuff doesn't affect you and you don't even think about this stuff or you don't even know about this stuff, then and I've said this before, burlesque is not about dancing on a stage. Like that is part of it. That is part of it, but it's always been an act of rebellion. It's
Hmm.
always been political. It's, always been for the people that have been trod on and fucked about by society. And it still is that today. So to see people coming in and trying to commercialize it and then telling us we're wrong, we've got this wrong, we've got a scarcity mindset. We want to wear a badge of honor of using our own money. No, I do not. I do not want to take money that I've had to go and work for to pay. I don't want to have to make my overdraft bigger to pay performers, but that's what I'm going to do because I could charge people to perform. I could charge people for their photography and their videos. I could do all of these things and not have to take that money out of my own pocket. But then what am I doing it for? That was
You're
never,
no, at that point you're doing it to line your own pocket, and that's the problem.
yeah, like it's not to say we can't make money.
Yeah.
It's not to say that, but that I looked at it like my other job, nursing. Nobody decides to be a nurse for the money. Nobody. If you decided to go into nursing for the money, you're going to be very, very disappointed. You go into nursing because of something that is deeply inside you, because you want to make that difference, even if it means you nearly get sacked every 3 months because you can't keep your mouth shut at that place to work either. But
I feel like we could be good friends because I have also been on the verge of being sacked from my day job more times than I can count, Tony.
I'm like, thank God I've got a protected characteristic and I can keep my job.
I just have a wonderful boss who manages to like make it slide away from me. And I'm like, I don't know how.
It's a lot into it, but I do liken it to that. Like you do not come into burlesque. You certainly don't come in for the money. If you're told do this and you're going to be a star, it's not true. Like, how many of us are stars? How many of us names are known outside of our own little circles? How many of us have got big bank accounts? It's not happening. And it's not because we don't understand business, it's because we've got morals and ethics and we respect the industry. Um, Again, a conversation I had with somebody, you don't understand, it's all about the respect. I was like, why do you think producers tend to just produce in their area? It's not because they can't go and produce somewhere else. It's respect. It's respect for one another and it's respect for the wider industry. Because if we all start producing, there's going to be no money for people to go to these shows. and again, that respect has been lost. I've had people saying that shows that have been around 17 years should be checking in with their show that's been around 18 months. And it's like, no.
I think I saw that particular post.
hmm Which was not the reason. It was not the reason.
Yeah, I know. I saw that. I think I saw, did you post recently saying, oh yeah, what shows are going to be on this time next year because you were looking to book Highway to Hull, like you're over a
Because
year
I want
away.
our search and my student showcase, and I know my student showcase probably won't even affect the rest of the burlesque industry because it's my students, but I'd still like to avoid it if I could because I'd still
Mhm.
like my students to then have the opportunity
To
to go
go.
to other people's shows. So and I know it's not always possible. And again, we've had to have a really frank chat about Highway to Hull with somebody and say this was not malicious. It's purely we need a bank holiday weekend. It needs to be warm. It needs to be far enough away from Hebden Bridge because that is one of the biggest
Yep.
festivals. Um, and you've got to get the venue when you can get the venue. And I think there's a lot of stuff that are misconstrued because people don't talk.
Yeah.
But I also feel like I've kind of got to the point where I'm so sick of talking. I'm like, fuck you, do it yourself. I'm sick of talking now.
I don't want to talk to you anymore.
I don't want to talk. Fuck off. Um, so yeah, and then obviously the problems with the harassment thing that's been interesting, and
Mhm.
I feel lots of kind of ways about that because I do feel like this has been happening for so long, and we don't want to be seen as the mean girl, so we don't say anything. Um, so of course, in my normal way, I'm like, okay, we need a kind of burlesque ugly mugs. Like that's kind of what we need. Um, so that is probably the next thing that I'm going to be working on. It's like, okay, we need something where it is evidence based. You don't just get to post anonymously and be like, this person, this is this, but that it's fair and it's weighted, and we start. Okay, well, we've had 3 or 4 instances of this, and because as well, a lot of things happen to new performers, and new performers haven't got the confidence to say things, or they're worried they're going to be blacklisted. And it's
Mhm.
like, no, there's people taking advantage here. And I don't like that shit. And I think I've got worse since I've started teaching.
Because you're
Because I
protective of your babies.
like leave them alone. Don't hurt them.
Yeah.
And I say to my students when they ask me a question, how honest do you want me to be? Because I'm going to tell you, don't do this, don't do this, don't do that. You're wasting your time, your money, your effort for nothing.
Yeah.
Competitions that run every week that you probably wouldn't be able to name anybody that ever won that competition. Like you're wasting your time and your money, and you're putting a costume on and you're mucking a costume up and you're knackering your body up for what? And again, I think since being disabled, the energy consumption of the body is really important. It's like
Mhm.
you're putting your body through this shit, and I know that you like to be on stage. Your body's keeping track of that, and
Yeah.
you don't know how long your body's going to do this for you. So stop abusing your body as well. Like take the gigs that are going to be worth something. Not every gig needs to pay cash when you're starting out, but what else are you getting out of it? And if the answer's nothing, save your money and your body and your costume and your dry cleaning bill. Just save it. And that thing where the suitcase sits for 3 weeks, save yourself that energy
Yeah.
and don't do it. And again, I've seen that called gatekeeping, which
It's not. It's about having an honest conversation about what is a good. The way I see it is you give people the information, it's up to them if they still do the show, right?
absolutely,
That's all you can do. You can say, in my opinion, this is the case. If you still want to do that, it's up to you. Yeah,
yeah,
it's your decision. But
I
here
know.
is the information about them. This is the information I have. Yeah, and then it's up to people what they want to do with that. And I think that's all we can do. It's more about education. here is
Yeah.
some information about some people. We wouldn't advise it, but if you really want to do it, off you pop.
But again, I know there's teachers that don't even want to say that for fear of gatekeeping. A teacher asked me, a reputable teacher said, I don't know what to do when my students are asking me questions about people because I don't want to seem like I'm gatekeeping. And I said, at the end of the day, if you've got evidence, then you have a duty of care. Like, again, it's maybe my background, duty of care, all that kind of stuff. But I'm like, you do if you're part of this person's journey and you're part of educating them, then part of your role is also to protect these people. And if you've got the evidence and you can say, look, this is why I don't think this is a good idea, then I don't think that's gatekeeping. I think that's protecting people that don't know any better.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't think there's out wrong with that. I'm also old and cantankerous, so I don't really care anymore.
I feel like so many of us have got to the point where we're like, ah, fuck it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like, what happened? When did this switch of, oh, fuck it, fuck them, they're getting told about themselves?
It's
When did
great.
that happen?
I
It's
don't,
quite liberating.
I quite
It
like
is
it. I'm not
liberating.
gonna lie. So I suppose kind of going back to the shows that you've done, we've talked about how you've had big names. Has there ever been any moment where you're like starstruck?
All the time, all the time. And yeah, I've had some really starstruck moments, some really surreal moments where I sort of look and go, is this actually my life? Is this actually happening? And some of the most magical moments happen after a show.
Yep.
Um, I do tell the tale of the year I got an ASBO. Um, the year Zyra Lee Vanity was over. And we got an ASBO. I've never had an ASBO before. So that was interesting. And you're watching people that you've graceful, elegant people that are huge names in their industry, and they're on your decking like dancing to Kate Bush, and you're just thinking, is this what's happening right now? Is this my actual life? And yeah, it's wonderful. And yeah, the starstruck, I usually just end up being really weird and awkward. So I'm just like, hi.
That would be like that was me when I said when I came down to your show. Lulu, I think, saw me at the break, saw me looking at her, so she came over and introduced herself, and I was like, "Hi," like that was so fucking awkward. She was like, "What's your name?" And I was like, "Dinah." Like I was so awkward, but yeah, I can imagine you get to see. You don't see the performer version, you get to see the person, I suppose, which
Yeah,
is always interesting because we are never who we are on stage, right? So you
no,
get to meet the actual person, which is, I can imagine that's a bit of a brain, because we're all very parasocial with the internet now as well. So you have an idea
yeah,
of what someone is like from the internet, and then as you said, they're on your deck and dancing to Kate Bush, and you're like,
yeah. It's yeah, it's good, but it's just wonderful. And yeah, I think my favorite things are just the really simple stuff like using local colloquialisms and people not knowing what it
yeah,
is. Like Miss Honeybee, I introduced her to Jaffa cakes and she bought loads of Jaffa cakes to take back with her. Just really, for me, that's my like moments of, yeah, this is magical. Like it's magical that all this stuff's happening, but then it's this magical, normal moments of they're this huge star, they're
yeah,
this incredible person, but they're excited about Jaffa cakes. It's like it's so wonderful.
yeah.
I think, yeah, I do get very starstruck and I get very nervous around people. Vegas was definitely the worst. I cried in Ellie and Nessa's face and had to leave the room and come back. Um, she was like, who am I writing this photo out to? And I just went, oh, and I just went, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I've got to go. I've got to go. I'll come back. And Domino Deval was just loving it. They were like, I'm looking forward to seeing Vegas through your eyes. So they just followed me around watching me cry. Because that was a magical moment for them, apparently.
My
So
my partner's coming with me because we're kind of doing it as a holiday, and like he's been part of the world via me for the past 6 years, but he's like, all right, okay, cool, that's that person. So he's just gonna be watching me like
yeah,
the whole time.
it's very it's very weird. I think even when I'm starstruck as a producer, I'm still kind of saying to myself, okay, you're a producer. So
Mm,
do not scream in their face. Do not go, don't do that. You've got to be professional. You've got to be a producer. So I think sometimes I'm more starstruck when I'm at other people's shows.
yeah,
So I'm not in that kind of producer, okay, you're the producer now, so you've got to behave a certain way. So, like at Hebden Bridge, I barely spoke to anybody because I was just, yeah, I was like, oh, just Jezebel Thunder, just casually over there, and Lucy Lovegun's just casually over there. And yeah, it's just this sort of fucking hell. So I don't think I spoke to anybody at Hebden because I was just weird. It's
that's
just like
me.
starstruck
That
to talk to anybody.
that's 100% me. At every festival ever, I'm like, I'm an awkward human. Hi.
I just tell people now, listen, I think I said to Lucy Lovegun, sorry if I'm like a bit weird and quiet. I'm trying to watch what comes out of my mouth. I was like, but by the end of the weekend, I will have called somebody a cunt. And she was like, I'm here for that. I am here for that. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I was like, just don't say anything. Say less.
I
Just
think that's what I'm gonna have to try. Just say this, it'll be fine. Um, I feel like we could chat for forever, but I do need to wrap it
absolutely.
up. Can you please tell our lovely watchers and listeners where they can find you on socials?
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook at Tawny Kay Loveday, or I've got pages, the Booby Trap Burlesque and Cabaret, um, Tawny Kay on a page. Instagram is the Booby Trap Burlesque. I am on TikTok, but I'm not very good on the old TikTok. I mean, I'm not very good on any, but yeah, I'm on there as well.
I like you can follow me, it's fine.
You can follow
Um,
me. You'll find me somewhere, I'm sure.
Amazing. No, thank you so much. This has been genuinely such an interesting and fun conversation. So thank you
Sorry
for
about the
taking the time.
ADHD babble, but yeah.
It was great. I loved it. Loved it so much. But thank you so much for joining me
Thank
today,
you so
and I hope we chat again soon.
Thank you. Bye.